Alfredo Beltran Leyva, popularly referred to by his nickname El Mochomo, which translates to the desert ant in English, is a convicted Mexican drug lord and the former head of the Beltran Leyva cartel, which he operated together with his three other brothers, Arturo, Carlos, and Héctor Beltrán Leyva. He was born in La Palma, Badiraguato, Sinaloa, Mexico, on January 21, 1971, to father Carlos Beltran Araujo and mother Ramona Leyva Gamez, and his other siblings who were males and whom he began his illegal career with. Due to the nature of his work, he has an alternate date of birth, which is February 15, 1951. Not much is known of Alfredo's early life or his reasons for being involved with the drug business, although we suspect it was very much similar to the lives of many other Mexican drug lords who were looking to defy the poor circumstances surrounding their upbringing. This is because Alfredo and his brothers, like many other drug lords, began trading in drugs in the 1990s during their teenage and young adult careers. Between the mid and late 1990s, they had already begun working as underbosses for their cousin Joaquin Guzman Leora, famously known as El Chapo of the Sinaloa cartel. In turn, he helped them traffic narcotics into the United States. In their prime, the Beltran Leyva cartel controlled most of the operations in western Mexico. Alfredo especially was responsible for facilitating the movement of multi-ton shipments of cocaine and methamphetamine from South America, first into Mexico, and then to the US. Once his shipments reached Mexico, they were divided into smaller units and were distributed to strategic points in North America. With this practice, he was responsible for successfully smuggling the highest amount of cocaine and methamphetamine into the United States by any Mexican drug lord. This practice was later the main cause of his tragic conviction years down the line, as the judge felt that he was too much of a danger to the drug trafficking industry. His criminal group also engaged in kidnapping, murder, extortion, money laundering, contract killings, and torture to fund their drug trafficking operations. They became a force to be reckoned with in the drug trafficking world. Alfredo's influence penetrated deep into the Attorney General of Mexico's office by bribing the former drug czar Noé Ramírez Mandujano and many other top-ranking officials. Ramírez Mandujano, who was the head of the country's top special organized crime unit, SEDO, received $450,000 every month to tip off Alfredo on how, when, and where any attempts against them were to be taken. This was one of the biggest reasons Alfredo was said to be very dangerous. He had eyes and ears everywhere, in Mexican politics and even media. He also successfully infiltrated the ranks of many government agencies and the Interpol headquarters in Mexico, making him appear invisible to authorities at all times. On the 21st of January 2008, Alfredo Beltran Leyva was arrested in Culiacan with 3 members of his security detail. In his possession were 2 suitcases filled to the brim with luxury watches and cash amounting up to $900,000. He also had with him rifles, automatic weapons, 20 fragmentation grenades, 40 bulletproof vests, 8 of which had the initials FEDO on them, which is very likely a Spanish acronym for Arturo's Special Forces. In Spanish, Fuerzas Especiales de Arturo. He was flown to Mexico City and imprisoned at the Federal Social Readaptation Center, Mexico's #1 maximum security prison. A top commander for Mexico's National Federal Police and spokesperson for the arrest, Edgar Eusebio Milian Gomez, was killed 5 months later in what Mexican authorities and investigators believe was a retaliation act towards the government for the arrest of Alfredo Beltran Leyva. At the time of his arrest, Alfredo Beltran Leyva was a top lieutenant in Joaquin Guzman Leora's Sinaloa cartel, and many even considered him Guzman's right-hand man. However, after he was arrested, his 3 brothers, Héctor, Arturo, and Carlos, blamed Joaquin for his arrest and even accused him of providing information for Alfredo to the authorities. In their anger at his perceived betrayal, they officially broke off from the Sinaloa cartel and established their own Beltran Leyva cartel. As revenge, the Beltran Leyva brothers ordered the death of 22-year-old Edgar Guzman Lopez, the son of the Sinaloa cartel chief, killing him in a disastrous grenade attack and sparking rage which did not go unanswered. This began the brutal war and non-perishable rivalry between the Sinaloa cartel and the Beltran Leyvas, which by then had affiliated itself with the Los Zetas and the Gulf Cartel, who were also bitter rivals of the Sinaloans as they had already planned on taking over their territories. The war lasted 4 years, from 2008 to 2012, and claimed up to 10,000 lives across Mexican communities, both gang member and innocents. Even though the Beltran Leyva cartel was established only after the arrest of Alfredo, he was still very much considered a leader in the organization, as he was still responsible for effectively facilitating the shipment of more tons of smuggled drugs into the US while still imprisoned, up until 2014, when he was finally extradited to the US and his communications with the cartel were cut off. On the 3rd of December 2009, the United States Treasury sanctioned Alfredo Beltran Leyva under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act for his role in international drug trafficking, along with 21 other international criminals and 10 foreign entities. This act allowed the freezing of all his assets based in the United States and prohibited all American citizens or companies from doing any kind of business with him or the companies associated with him. On the 15th of November 2014, Alfredo was finally extradited to the US. On the 17th of the same month, he was scheduled to make his court appearance in Washington, D.C., in a section directed by U.S. Judge Alan Kay for the drug trafficking accusations leveled against him. He pleaded not guilty for conspiracy to import large shipments of cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin from Mexico to the U.S. Alfredo's trial officially began on the 8th of February 2016, and he was represented by renowned criminal defense attorney Ángel Eduardo Valareso. Acting Assistant Attorney General Kenneth A. Blanco of the Justice Department's Criminal Division had this to say concerning Alfredo Beltran Leyva's trial. For over a decade, the defendant commanded a major Mexican drug trafficking organization that imported tons of cocaine and methamphetamine into the United States and led a campaign of violence and fear that gripped entire communities across North America. Through close cooperation with our foreign counterparts, the United States brought this international drug trafficker to justice, significantly disrupting the flow of narcotics into the United States and stemming the tide of destruction wrought by this violent cartel. This was after the drug trafficker had finally pleaded guilty to all charges leveled against him, including his involvement as part of a conspiracy to import large quantities of drugs into America, and apologized to reduce his sentence. His exact words were, "I ask forgiveness for the behavior that brought me here, and I apologize to God, the highest authority, and to my children. I ask you to have mercy on me and allow me to return to my family." Beltran Leyva's defense attorney, Eduardo Valareso, asked United States District Judge Richard Leon to impose a 25-year term on the basis that his client had accepted responsibility for his actions. But Richard Leon rejected the request, saying that he had never seen a case of this magnitude. Assistant Director Stephen E. Richardson of the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division, Executive Associate Director Peter T. Edge of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Homeland Security Investigations also had this to say, respectively. Alfredo Beltran Leyva spent decades at the head of a criminal organization responsible for trafficking large amounts of cocaine and methamphetamine into the U.S. Today's sentencing marks an end to Alfredo Beltran Leyva's reign of terror and demonstrates that the FBI and our law enforcement partners around the globe will aggressively pursue and bring justice to those individuals who use violence and intimidation to threaten our communities. Today's sentencing dealt a major blow to the Beltran Leyva organization by taking out one of its leaders. It is with tireless joint enforcement efforts like this one that we can remove drugs from America's streets and make our communities that much safer. HSI and our law enforcement partners, both in the United States and around the world, will not waver in our resolve to dismantle and cripple violent drug organizations and remove their leadership. Finally, Special Agent in Charge James J. Hunt of the DEA New York Division added this: Alfredo Beltran Leyva is one of the Goliaths in Mexican drug traffickers, known for his savage business tactics and responsible for flooding the U.S. with illegal drugs. This sentencing exemplifies law enforcement's commitment to bringing justice to the victims of drug abuse through successful prosecutions of the highest echelon of drug traffickers. All these speeches by heads of the agencies whose combined effort was responsible for Alfredo's capture were said in praise of the drug trafficker's final prosecution. On the 28th of June 2016, before the trial even began, the prosecution ordered a preliminary forfeit order that requested Alfredo to pay up to $10 billion US, which the government estimated he had generated through his drug trafficking schemes. Once again, at his trial on the 5th of April 2017, he was ordered to forfeit $529 million more. This amount was based on the proceeds he made from shipping 27.9 tons of narcotics over 12 years, from 2000 up till 2012. These forfeit bills, alongside several sanctions of the Kingpin Act, served to further deteriorate the Beltran Leyva finances as a whole. At this point, the Beltran Leyva cartel had been declared extinct by the Mexican government. Arturo Beltran Leyva was dead from a 90-minute-long gun battle with Mexican authorities, and Carlos Beltran Leyva was incarcerated after being found with a false ID, forged driver's license, a weapon, and a stash of cocaine, coupled with his relation to the Beltran Leyva cartel. Only Héctor, who took after Arturo's death, was holding the cartel together, and it soon dissolved into nothingness under the pressure from both the United States and the Mexican authorities after his arrest in 2014. Finally, after 1 year and 2 months of a court trial, on the 5th of April 2017, 46-year-old Alfredo Beltran Leyva was sentenced to life imprisonment by the United States District Judge Richard J. Leon of the District of Columbia. His arrest and prosecution marks one of the United States and Mexico's biggest victories against illegal businesses and criminal organizations in recent years, and so does the utter extinction and disbandment of his cartel. This brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as we loved putting it together. Make sure to share this video with your friends and family, and if you liked it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up. Tell us what you thought of Alfredo Beltran Leyva and the Beltran Leyva cartel in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video, so you can access more interesting, entertaining, and educational content like this. Until next time.